Hello everyone and welcome to round 9 of season 16 Wheel2WR AL2, and we are here for the French Grand Prix at Circuit Paul Ricard. France has always had a long history of road racing, but in 1970 one man conceived the idea of constructing a permanent racetrack. Paul Ricard, the creator of the pastis drink that bears his name, set to work on building the new facility in Cassette Plateau between Marseille and Toulon. After 14 Formula One races, the venue last hosted a Grand Prix in 1990 before a revival plan led to a newly rebuilt track returning to our calendar in 2018. We will see 53 laps here of this 3.63 mile long circuit. We have 15 corners, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we are in the middle of the Pirelli range today with the C4 softs, C3 mediums and the C2 hards. Softs are set to last about 17 laps, mediums maximum of 28 and hards are maximum 36 laps. Mediums are 1.179 seconds slower than the softs and the hards are 1.769 seconds slower than the softs. The previous pole time here was set by Steve-O, which was a 1:29.2. So Vern joins me today and we will see how this qualifying session gets underway. How are you, Vern?
Good evening, thank you very much for having me again. I'm doing very well once again this fine Friday evening. Yeah, just looking forward to another enjoyable race. If anything like last week is to go by, we are in hopefully for another treat this evening here at the Paul Ricard circuit. Personally, not one of my favourites, I'm not going to lie. But I'm not going to use that as a reason to spoil this evening's racing.
Yeah, we raced here on Wednesday and I didn't fare too well, but we did have some weather disturb the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I was a bit unfortunate to miss the race on Wednesday. I didn't make it back home in time. I had an impromptu last-minute requirement that took me away from the action on Wednesday. But
you're here with us today for qualifying, as you say, around Paul Ricard. We've got Blood and Sand driving for Haas, first out to set his flying lap.
Yep, so he's just coming up to the end of his out lap, choosing the medium tyre to begin with, which can be a good choice around here because tyre wear, I believe, is a little bit on the high side. As he comes out the final corner to get the run down the pitch straight down towards the first chicanes of turns 1 and 2. Bring the car to the right hand side. You have to be careful because the pit lane exit is also on this side of the track. Turn 1 hits the apex well. Turn 2, got to be careful not to turn in too early and cut the corner, and running out wide literally again will instantly invalidate your lap. Turns 3 and 4 are very fast flick in, and it just gradually gets slower and slower as you work through turns 4 and 5. And then you wind it up through 6, try and get the traction as early as possible, through the flicker 7, down the long DRS straight towards the hairpins of turns 8 and the hairpins, chicane, sorry, of turns 8 and 9. Fast entry into the chicane, and again you just wind it down as the chicane carries on, square the corner off, down to the run towards the flat out turn 10. A right hand flick, it's barely a corner in these vehicles, so you just navigate it as smoothly as possible, and then around the long lake apex of turn 11, bring the car to the right hand side as quickly as possible for turns 12. Again, another late apex, an acceleration zone for turn 13, but keep it again to the right hand side for the turn 13. Again, it's a relatively late apex, and then instantly into the final tight hairpin of turn 15. You want to get it squared up again and get the run down to the start and the finish line. The finish line very, very far down this pit straight, nearly towards where the pit lane exit is. And we start this evening with a 1:31.1.
Yeah, very good time for the Haas car there, but then immediately beaten by Dino in the AlphaTauri, but he is on the soft tyre, and as I said, there is at least 1.1 second deficit between the two, so pretty much expected to see the kind of time difference there between the compounds.
Yeah, it was a good time to start with on the mediums there for both, to be honest, for both Blood and Sands and Maxi, getting into the 131s to begin with. It's such a difficult track to get the lap right. As I say that, 129 from Old Dad's on the medium. Because again, it is so easy just to invalidate your lap time and build up the warnings and track limits in the race. So once again, this could be another race that could be determined by penalties, which is unfortunate, but just with the way the game is and the way the track is, sometimes it can almost be unavoidable.
Yeah, it's very difficult to keep it all in line here. Cal, no surprise there, trying to defend his run of poles with the 129.1 set on the soft tyres. So the deficit between the tyres, Old Dad's could give Cal a run for his money here.
Yeah, so I didn't see the lap from Cal, so I'm not sure if there was any mistakes or just like a hesitant first lap just to get a lap time on the board. As Woody's about to do, 28.7, so just pips into pole position at the moment.
Incredible time, 5 tenths quicker than last season's pole.
But this is definitely one of those tracks where you just want to get a banker on the board, and then you just wind it up and then just go for it and just hope you just hook up all the corners to get the perfect lap time out, which is almost nearly impossible to do around here.
But incredible time from Old Dad's there, I must say.
Yes, that's a very, very good lap on the mediums.
1.1 second behind pole. So again, the difference in tyres, he's up there for pace against Woody and Cal here.
Yeah, 1.1 off pole, but he is 1.3 ahead of the next medium runner. As well, which is just shows that he is currently showing good pace around here. I let down the state, just watched him finish his lap. P9 on 131.8. He's done a couple of laps on this set now. He won't want to do too many because it would really affect his first stint in the race. He's invalidated this lap, so I would expect him to pit at the end of this lap anyway.
We do know now that there will be rain towards the end of this race.
Interesting. So you're going to want to see if you can somehow work out your strategy to try and get into that period as, with as few stops as possible. And whether it's going to be, once it rains, does it rain to the end of the race, or is it like we've seen in a few previous races where it just rains for a short period and then goes back to dry? We'll need to wait and see once we actually get to that stage. Yeah,
Wednesday was a very difficult call. DRS was disabled, but he was only disabled for about 2 or 3 laps, and there was a couple of people who did opt to come in for the intermediate tyres. It definitely benefited for the first lap, but then as soon as the track tried to dry up, it immediately switched over, and the intermediate runners then ended up behind everybody else who'd stayed out on the slicks. So difficult conditions to judge, and even looking at the weather now, it's rather overcast.
Yes, it is. Don't think we had any information to say it's likely to rain during this quali session, but it would indicate that sort of the track conditions are a little bit cool. So it'll mean these slick tyres will last a little bit longer. They won't overheat as badly, assuming you do look after them. Because this track is a killer on the front left. With the long winding corners that always seem to be turning right around this track. So yeah, in full dry conditions, management of that front left tends to be the key factor on your strategy. Yeah,
it is killer to your front left tyre. And even just coming out the pits, it's strange turning right coming out of the pits.
Yeah, it's a very
clockwise tracks, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a very bizarre pit lane as well, because all of the garages have... Oh, did I just see... I've just seen some rain, actually. Here's some raindrops falling already. But this pit lane is one of the really odd ones, because all the garages are very early on in the pit lane, and it just seems to go on forever when you come out the garage. But then you've got, as I said on the first lap we were on board with, you've got to be careful when you come out the pit lane because you feed straight onto the racing line.
Yeah.
And in race conditions, when when you're battling and you're hoping to get an undercut or a overcut or whatever the circumstances are, it can mean turn one can get a little bit fruity if you end up side by side with someone coming out the pit lane.
Dino just coming to cross the line now. Will he improve? And no, he's down nearly 5/10 off his time, but he's not managing his ERS very well because he's starting and finishing his lap with an empty battery.
Yes. Yeah, again, this track with the way the layout is and how long you're on full throttle for, it's not possible to get around a full lap on this track on hot lap mode with the ERS. Yeah. So there you have to decide whether they just stick it in hot lap and then just bite a bullet at the end of the lap with no battery power, or do they manage it and turn the battery power down through the slower sections of the track so that they have the battery power down the run to the finish line. So I think like we saw last week in the qualifying at Canada, it's with the rain, it's actually the other way around. Last week it started wet and started getting drier. This race it's the other way around. So it might mean the end of the session is not going to be there's not going to be too many drastic changes.
No, but it could mean that penalties will come into play, because I imagine with the changing conditions late in the session, that might bring the field close together, either through pit strategies or safety car.
Prev has just spun, coming towards the DRS straight, just proving how slippery it is out there.
Yeah, I did see Woody on his lap. He did chop the corner. I don't know if that was a traction issue, but he invalidated his lap. So I think these times that was set early in this session are going to have been critical.
Yes, which again, that all-important aspect of getting that banker lap in, because as we can see, Silver Slugger, for example, he's not set a time, and he's not going to have the best of conditions to get a competitive lap in. So yeah, it was as DRS is disabled. So there you go. Yeah. It's now pretty much intermediate weather. So we could be in for a rather quiet 5 minutes.
Yes. I don't think there'll be much flashing up on the board, as Silver Slugger is struggling there on them soft tyres. But critical to point out, as we were saying, Old Dad's rules, very rapid on that medium set of tyres. If you do have a dry start to the race, which it is forecast, he will be starting on that medium set of tyres. And he will be the first out of the only one out of the top 7 drivers on the mediums.
Yes. Yeah, it's only Old Dad's, Blood and Sands and Maxi currently in the top 10 who have set a time on mediums. Maxi, however, has used 3 laps of his medium tyre to set his time. But yeah, no, the guys out there who are still out there on slicks, they're just struggling.
Yeah,
no
as you say, it's going to be a long 5 minutes. Nobody's going to be getting anywhere. James Laws is out there on a set of intermediate tyres, but I don't think he's going to manage a faster lap time on a set of intermediates than when he set his time on the softs.
No, these guys could, especially if it is meant to be sort of getting wet towards the end of the race, is what we're being told. Some guys might use this as an opportunity to get a feel for what the end of the race may actually be like, and just use a set of inters now, because you get 4 sets of inters overall, and yeah, you're not likely to be needing all 4 sets, so it may not be a bad idea for some people to be out there.
Like you say, it's good to just get your hone your thumbs or hands in to how your setup is going to handle in the wet. Because some people might have looked at the forecast and gone for a bit of a hybrid setup, which I know some people do.
Yeah.
They want something that can not cost them too much time in the dry, but will still work in the wet. So
Yeah, and it's the thing is with the when you view the weather in the pit garage, the time gaps can also be a little bit misleading. So we're being told that it could be the end of the race, yet when we're on the grid and they see you get the 6 squares that tell you sort of the section of the race, what weather it's going to be. The weather could actually be earlier in the race than expected, which is something that can catch some people out. So, yeah, they will have needed to sort of work out, as James is almost finding the barriers with this, should we say, excessive runoff that we have around here. The blue and red stripes that you see on the runoff here are, in real life, they're actually very grippy paint.
Yes.
And once you get to the red section, that is the sort of the grippiest section that's designed to slow you right down, but will completely destroy your tyres in the process. Which obviously I don't think is replicated in this game. But yeah, it shows that it's getting rather slippery out there, even for the Inters.
Yeah. And I'm hoping James is just toying with a couple of his settings there, just to do what he needs to do for when he is in the wet. Because if it's as difficult as this to drive in the wet, he's not going to fare very well come the end of the race.
No. Yeah, I think what we're seeing is, we've got old dads, James and Silver Slugger out there at the moment, all on the Inters. I think it's purely, as I said, it's just to get an eye in for a feel of what it's likely to be when it does rain in the race. But it's nothing more than that. It's not representative of what we're seeing out there at the moment.
No, because for those who might not be aware, Formula One, you set your car up for qualifying, and under Parc Fermé rules, you need to keep them same settings for your car for the race. So these guys, having set their laps now, the only thing they're allowed to change is the front wing angle, the brake bias, and the differential.
Yes. So it's rather restrictive. It's far more restrictive than what they actually have in real life as well, which I'm actually quite glad of. I don't think the game would be that enjoyable if we had the realistic abilities to change settings like they do in real life. Yeah. That would be far too much for my brain to comprehend. I'd like to think I'm a smart guy, but I think even that would be too much for me.
Well, that'd be the thing. There'd be some guys out there that will then spend the hours dedicated and needed to find out what you can change to get them extra 3/10 out the car, which I wouldn't have that time.
No, same here. It just would not be possible to have that time to work all that out. It's just entertaining to see some of these cars sliding around, though, literally showing that there's no grip out there.
Yeah. But quite concerning knowing that there is going to be the potential for some wet weather towards the end of the race.
Yes. So it's interesting that 10 of the drivers haven't decided to use that opportunity to get a feel for the track conditions. Some may have already done some practice in wet weather or intermediate weather in the week in preparation for tonight, so feeling comfortable already. And some people I know from other leagues and back in the day, they just wing it and hope it doesn't rain. And if it rains, then you just have to deal with it. So yeah, we'll see how everyone fares up once we actually get to that point in the race.
The key usually is to find a dry setup that isn't bad in the wet, which I normally try and go for.
Yeah, then it's thrown as a Dad says is exploring one of the many other variances of this track. The one thing that can catch people out if you try and find a setup, a dry setup that works well in the rain, or works okay in the rain if it's only going to be raining for a part of the race. The one thing you don't want is for it to be wet throughout.
No.
Because it's not fun when it's wet throughout. Too much
No.
pressure and too much concentration to comprehend.
Right, and that was our French Grand Prix qualifying session. We have Woody Wolfie picking up his third pole of this season. Only the top 3 drivers have won pole so far this season. So Woody keeping that run going. And then we have Cal in second place, Old Dad's in third on the medium tyres, most importantly. We have James in fourth, Dino in fifth, Prev in sixth, Sega de Cos in seventh, Blood and Sand in eighth, CHM in ninth, Maxi in 10th, A Letdown Estate in 11th, James Laws in 12th, and Silver Slugger in 13th, having not set a lap on the slick tyres and only being able to put in an intermediate tyre time.
Yeah, so rather, shall we say, uneventful end to that session.
Yeah.
But they will have been, well, I'd like to think the drivers would have been fully aware that it was going to rain at the end of the session and to get a lap out there early on. Some drivers, not managing to get a representative lap, but that could have been either just down the track limits or just not taking notice of the weather conditions.
Yeah. But this part, we normally have a 5-minute break, so all the drivers can have a short comfort break before going into a 100% distance race, as we're going to be having 53 laps here. And normally, this is a time where I review the drivers' standings, and we have Cal at the top with 253 points, 80 points clear of any other driver. He's currently got 4 fastest laps and 5 poles. His lowest finishing place is third, which he's only done once, and he's won 4 out of the 8 Grand Prix ran so far. But then on his tail is Woody Wolfie, having not joined until the 3rd round. Woody Wolfie is chasing down Cal, 80 points behind, with 1 fastest lap, 2 poles. Xerxes, who is on holiday today, so we are missing that Red Bull driver today. He won't be able to claim any more points today, but he does have a fastest lap and a pole position, and he's 85 points behind Cal. And then slowly we drop off the leaderboard there with James, Old Dads, and Sega to Cos. Sega is the highest finisher from last season that's racing with us today. He scored 3rd last season at his home Grand Prix. So he's probably going to be hoping for a good result today, but he was down in 6th or 7th place. But in the constructors, McLaren are top of the AL2 table, 120 points clear of the Red Bull drivers, but it's a tight battle then for second because Ferrari are only 6 points behind Red Bull. And then again, it slowly drops off. But here at Wheel to Wheel, we do have a combined constructors table because we take the scores from the AL1 constructors and the AL2 constructors and put them into a Wheel to Wheel combined constructors title, where recently Ferrari have taken the lead now with 611 points. They are 11 points clear of their rivals at Red Bull. And then it does massively drop off, and McLaren is 139 points behind. Although McLaren storming ahead in the AL2 standings, they are only 3rd in the combined constructors, as the AL1 team is currently at the bottom of the constructors' title fight.
Yeah, we'll gloss over that.
Yeah, but Racing Point is clawing back. In fact, my table's wrong here because Racing Point is actually 3rd. So Racing Point starting to crawl back after infamous Pillars was sat out for a few races. But we did have Xerxes fill in as a reserve in AL1 to try and score some points for us. So thank you very much for that, as that is affecting our constructors' title.
Yeah, it's an interesting. There are some interesting battles still out there in the drivers and constructors. Constructors, particular, with Ferrari and Red Bull. And today, we could see a bit of a shake-up there with both Ferraris out there, but only one Red Bull with one missing, with Xerxes not here.
Yeah.
So we could see a little shake-up there if Ferrari do manage to capitalise on the opportunity. And Old Dad's showing very good pace in the qualifying to show that might have a potential of actually happening.
Yeah, I'm interested to see when this rain is going to fall, if it will, how these medium tyres will compare to the soft tyre runners at the start, because old Dad's definitely got some pace at this Grand Prix here. So all to see, and I'm just hoping that we can have some more action, more drama, some more show of some wheel-to-wheel racing here for this Grand Prix than in that qualifying session. Cut short by the wet weather.
We do tend to find that sort of in most leagues and tracks like here at France and other tracks where there is more runoff to play, you do tend to see a bit more, shall we say, ambitious attempts in overtaking than we would have seen last week at Canada, because obviously with Canada the walls are just there to eat you up. Where here at France you've got so much runoff because they've got so many different variances of this track available. There is just a lot of runoff around here, so you can go for a slightly more audacious move. If it doesn't pull off, okay, you run wide or you have to cut a corner, let the driver back through, but you're not likely to hit a wall here too regularly because you kind of, especially in certain corners, you need binoculars to see the walls here.
Yes.
So hopefully we will see all 13 drivers make it to the end here today.
But you say this track's got a few different layouts. There is 167 possible track layouts for this Grand Prix. Obviously, Formula One, they run their only track layout, which is the one that we will be racing today. But one or two changes to that recently. Obviously, the pit lane entrance was moved.
Yes, the pit lane was rather a tight entrance, wasn't it?
It was as dangerous as the pit exit.
And part of me wishes they kind of don't have the chicane halfway down the back straight. I kind of wish that was kind of just a massive blast, as well, because I feel that would actually potentially generate more closer racing, where the chicane tends to sort of break up the action a little bit. As formation lap is underway.
Yep. And we've got a letdown estate, James Laws and Silver Slugger. They had free choice of tyres, and 2 out of the 3 had gone for the softs. Where normally, when you're starting at the back, you would typically see the drivers opt for the harder compound to start the race when they have free choice. So is that a sign that the weather might be coming sooner than we thought?
Yeah, just about to say, is that an indication that the rain might be coming towards the end of a soft tyre stint? Or can they do, say, just one stop, run 2 sets of softs to get to the rain? We'll have to wait and see. The one thing I will say, it is rather blue and sunny out there at the moment, so there's no indication of there being any rain anytime soon. But yeah, we shall see once we get through the first stint of the race in particular. Hopefully these drivers just can get through the first lap, especially the first sector, cleanly, and not have any wing damage or incidents occur that breaks up the pack and breaks up the battles that we can hopefully see today.
Nice view down the track, seeing all the cars weaving, warming up their tyres. As you say, a letdown estate having to bring home all the points for Red Bull this race, with Xerxes away on holiday.
Yeah, and he's already on the back foot because he's 5 positions behind the nearest Ferrari, and there's another one 3 positions further up from there. Yeah, he's going to have to hope for either something to occur or just to have a good race and work his way up through the field to try and probably negate the amount of points Ferrari will gain on them. I think it's a case of they will gain just by how much. As I saw the tyre strategy for Prev pop up on that formation lap, and it looked like a 2-stop was the optimum if it stayed dry.
Well, that's it. That's when the weather's going to fall. That's going to dictate the strategy. Safety cars might change it up.
As they all line up on the grid.
And here we go. We have the lights. And in true Matt style, boogity, 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 let's go racing at the circuit, Paul Ricard. And Woody doesn't have a great start because Cal is already in ahead. Or is he from our timing screen? No, Woody is on the inside and he retakes the position through turn 1, turn 2. James looking to get a bit loose.
Oh, we've got a spin in the background already. I think Sega de Cos has had a spin out of turn 2.
That's not what he's going to want at his home Grand Prix.
Yeah, so they're all just filtering through turns 3, 4 and 5 onto the back straight. Trying to work out the order again while the timing screen sorts itself out. But Woody, again, already a comfortable lead coming down into the chicane. He's not in any danger. From either
Old
of the
Dad
McLarens.
seems to have dropped a position, wondering if that's the get off the line start with their medium tyre compound.
Yeah, quite possibly. We saw it last week with Cal, didn't we? He started on the medium and he did struggle in that first stint. He didn't seem to have the capability to keep up in the early stages on the harder tyre.
But CHM benefited from that race start, gained 2 positions.
Yeah, and obviously, unfortunately for Seda Cos, losing 6 positions at the start there as a result of that spin coming out of turn 2. I didn't see if it was just a spin on his own accord or whether he did get a tap. I don't recall seeing any wing or any damage flying off the track. So at the moment, I would just assume he's probably just put on the power and lit up the rears and spun it.
But it didn't look like it had damage. He didn't come into the pit, so he is carrying on. So head down and just resume racing.
Yeah, he didn't lose too much time off the back of the pack, so it's definitely not all over for him. He can work his way through. As Old Dad's already up the inside of James, back up to P3, showing that those mediums are working pretty well for him straight away.
James trying to get the slipstream to reclaim that position, but Old Dad's got the straight line speed to not be too threatened by it, but he goes very deep into the chicane there.
Bit of deja vu from last week. These two were swapping positions in the early stages of the race last week, and once again they're at it. James regaining that 3rd place after Old Dad's went a bit deep into the chicane and goes wide again through turn 11. He's now going to be potentially coming under pressure from Dino and his teammate Prev if he's not careful.
Yeah, Prev is really piling the pressure on Dino.
Sega's already regained 1 position. He's passed Silver Slugger at the back. And he's instantly on the back of James Laws to try and get himself up into 11th.
DRS now enabled. So we have a train of cars behind James, who's in 3rd place. Woody Wolfie shut out in front 2.5 seconds. And Cal 3 seconds in front of his teammate also.
Yeah, these two again showing that they're the class of the field. But once again, Woody making life very difficult for Cal by just putting the hammer down and just running away. We'll see if he can maintain that or pull away further. But yeah, he's way out of DRS range, so he can instantly start saving battery, saving fuel to help him later in the race, as James goes very defensive.
Very defensive. He's got 2 cars chasing him down with DRS, and Old Dad fires it across the chicane and takes a position, but he's off track quite a bit, so James retakes that position, but that gives Dino the advantage. Dino now up on the inside.
Dino's got no ERS though. He's used up all his overtake already this lap as he has a wiggle through turn 10. And Dad's once again wide through 11.
Yeah,
losing a couple of positions.
I'm not sure if Dino was putting him off on the inside, not really sure where he was. So Old Dad's went super wide there to make sure there was no collision. But plenty of action in these opening laps now.
Yeah, it's all very tight again from P3 back down. Don't know where to look as Old Dad's gets the first penalty of the day.
He does, but he did spend a lot of that lap off the track, but he's got absolute epic pace on that harder compound tyres.
That's what I was saying in qualifying. You can go a bit more ambitious and not hit a wall if it doesn't come off. He's lost the position to his teammate, but he's kept himself in the action.
Dino now picking up a penalty also. But Blood and Sand, I can see him in the background. I've seen him. He's done well last week, and I think he's going to be trying like a bear to improve his position here.
Pretty much everyone from 4th down all got DRS. So it doesn't mean there's going to be too many moves into the chicane here this time round. But Old Dads is looking rather wanting to get back past Dino to try and recover the positions he's lost in these opening laps.
I can't believe the pace Old Dads has on that medium compound. I mean, everybody's dropped back from Woody and Cal. They're in a league of their own, but Old Dads is the one that should be the slowest on them tyres, but he's rapid.
Yeah, it just shows that if he was able to get a clean start and break away from this pack, you would expect him to, just simply be probably either on his own or just sort of in touching range of Cal, to make the top two's life a little bit difficult, knowing that they would have to stop earlier.
And having a look around the outside of Dino coming into turn 1. Dino, I just spotted, is missing his right end plate, so that will be damaging to him. But
he has.
James now picking up a penalty as well.
Again, very early stage just to be picking up 3-second time penalties for track limits.
Old Dads and Dino both getting a bit loose on the track limit lines.
But again, everyone behind 3rd place pretty much having DRS. James goes ultra defensive. Oh, that was contact. And Old Dads is going to... did he lose wing? Was that a Ferrari wing I just saw bouncing there?
It was. Prev lost some wing there.
Oh yeah, Prev's lost his left side of his wing. I can't quite tell. I'm not getting a good angle.
His right side, but he's losing places now. Dino's just made his way past him. Blood and Sand, hot on his tail. That damage looks to be really suffering for him.
Sticking with it.
Yeah.
I think
laps might be a little early to pit, but
I think while this train is still, still in play and he's still amongst it, you might as well stick it out.
Yeah. Losing a position to Blood and Sand.
As Old Dads and James are side by side going into 3. I think Old Dads did briefly get ahead, but then James has once again done the cutback on the exit of the turn 2 and has just out-dragged into 3 and regained that position.
But I've got to say, Old Dad's rapid on the mediums, but Blood and Sand, he's making his way through the field, but he is also on the medium compound.
Yeah, I think we could see a couple of moves here. Blood and Sand's behind on Dino, Old Dad's on James. Once again, I think there's contact.
Yeah, the Blood and Sand got his way through from behind, but Old Dad's James weaving again.
Very late defensive moves. Oh, turn 11 side by side is gonna get tight, but he makes his way through. Old Dad's back up to P3 and probably again one of the best parts of the track because assuming he doesn't lose the rear, he would have broken away. But unfortunately he lost the rear and James was straight back through. He's got to be careful because Blood and Sands, as you say, coming through the field on those mediums as well.
Yeah, Blood and Sand gained 3 positions now from this Grand Prix, and not just that, it won't be too long before these soft tyre runners are going to be feeling the effects of the degradation from this track. As Old Dads is now looking to make a move into turn 1, and he does. He's ahead of James, but James is coming straight back after turn 2. Up onto the inside, heading down into turn 3. James has the inside line, and he does take the position.
Blood and Sands is going to capitalise, I think, here. Oh, he thought about it. He thought about it, but thought better of that time round.
That would have been an epic move to just slip straight through behind James as he made his way past Old Dads.
Again, the rundown with DRS. James, the only one without the wing open. Again, defends the inside line. It is literally like a deja vu from the previous 2 laps. But this time, Old Dads has made it stick. Can he now hold on to keep in front of James? Or will James just use his battery, which he's already pretty much used completely now, to fight back? You think, oh, that's a bit of a late lunge to be thinking into there.
Yeah.
Old Dads holds on this time. Now, can he break away?
I think he probably can. He does. I think Old Dads has got a fraction more downforce because he just seems to be all over. Oh,
Woody's pitting.
He's in the pits.
That's an early stop. I don't think... Well, I wouldn't expect there to be any damage. He's been out in front on his own. So that's just an early stop off those softs. And he's now going to find himself right at the back of this train of cars. Right alongside Sega the cars.
Does he know something we don't?
If that is a choice to pit then... you definitely wouldn't want to feed yourself amongst this lot.
No, but he is charging his way back through. These mediums seem pretty powerful, but he couldn't find his way around the outside of CHM there.
This is the problem now. I mean, there you go. That's 3 times he's been off track in that half a lap.
Yeah.
And I think he's more taking evasive action to avoid damaging his wing. But the problem is he's now taking penalties. Because
he's got this accelerated pace compared to everybody else. I think he wanted to get past CHM, but CHM wasn't expecting him on the outside. So I think Woody might have even took him off track there.
It was, it was close. It was very frantic. With Woody coming straight out of the pits. And you can just see the grip advantage he's got, because not only has he passed CHM, he's done Prev, and he's now looking at a letdown estate who has left him no room.
He did, yeah. But see, a letdown estate had the inside line, so he's fully entitled to that track. But Woody, very impatient. But it's because he has absolute rocket pace in comparison to everybody else. And Blood and Sand has got past James. When did that happen?
Oh, yeah. That must... As James gets another penalty as well. Blood and Sands, must have that must have been down into the DRS straight, or James just made a mistake. We just haven't seen it.
But Prev really wounded by this front wing because he's just losing position after position. Sega Dakar's trying to reclaim his race now up into 9th, but he's in the mix with these.
Oh, he nearly runs into the back of Prev because Prev is struggling with the lack of downforce at the moment. And Sega's going to take out the Rolex board.
There's a lot of penalties already, and we're only on lap 9.
Yeah, there's a lot of exploration of the track limits going on at the moment.
But that will be very hurtful if late in this session we do have rain, it bunches the field together and anybody loses it, safety car comes out, and yeah, it's not what you want, not a time you want penalties.
No, not at all. Max has he spun through the fast? He has. He's spun through turn 10. He's done well to keep hold of that without damaging his car. That's the fastest part of the track. To lose the rear around there, he must have just mounted a curb or something, and just the rear went round on him. And he started on the medium, so it won't be those tyres will be wearing down.
Woody moving further up the field, just past Dino. Sega into the pits. All that work is done now, all undone from that pit stop, but having seen Woody pit and now Sega pit.
Yeah, Sega might be looking for the undercut here to try and jump the guys in front of him. As Woody again just using his traction to get past James. Such a pace advantage he's got on those fresher tyres right now.
Relentless.
The problem is he made the move before the DRS detection, and James has just blasted alongside him. So it's mean Woody's having to go defensive. Oh, what's happened back there?
And Old Dad's is off. Virtual safety car. Old Dad's has no front wing, which is not what you want in any Grand Prix at any point, to be fair, let alone lap 10 when you're on a medium set of tyres.
I'll tell you what, that VSC has come out perfectly for Cal. He was at the pit lane entry. He's chosen his time now to pit, and this will give him the advantage over Woody.
Yeah, it won't be a free-piece pit stop, but it will be a cheap one.
Yeah, it was good thinking there from Cal. Okay, VSC's back in.
Silver Slugger with a drive-through penalty, speeding under the virtual safety car. Where is Woody? I think Woody is still safe.
Yes, he is. Yeah, the VSC didn't stay out long enough for Cal there. No, but he would have closed the gap a little bit, though.
That's some epic pace to get that early pit stop in from through the field and under a virtual safety car for Cal to pit and Woody still to come out in front.
Yeah.
Old Dad's has gone hard.
Interesting. I've done no testing on the hard at the moment at all, so I've no idea how they feel around there. There might be a good tyre, just for the durability. But again, is that a sign that the rain's not coming anytime soon?
Well, possibly. I mean, the hard tyres will last about, well, Pirelli say 36 laps, but everybody else says about 30.
Silver Slugger, in getting his penalty, is now sped in the pit lane.
Oh. Missing his friend Kirk on the stream, throwing some comments in there. He's would have had a feast today.
He may still join. He may hear that he's in here and decide to join later. You never know.
Recap because we've had some positions swapped there. Where am I looking? I want to see the positions changed. Blood and Sand currently leading this Grand Prix, having gained 7 places, currently the biggest gainer, but shortly to be joined by a Letdown Estate, who's also gained 7 places. But Blood and Sand is on the medium tyres, a Letdown Estate is on the soft tyres, so he will have to pit soon. But we have another yellow flag, which is in the shape of Sega to cause.
And I just need to point out as well, I think we missed it, 'cause there was quite a lot of penalties that occurred after the VSC. Blood and Sands, unfortunately, has got to drive through as well. No. For a penalty under VSC regulations. So he's got to serve that in the next couple of laps.
Oh, that is suffering as he just loses the race lead to Woody.
And Prev as well had a drive through as well.
It's very unforgiving, this game, when it comes to your Delta and the virtual safety cars.
Yeah, because it's so sporadic in how quickly it sort of loses and gains time around the corners. You've really got to find that, sort of work out just how fast or how slow to take each corner so you don't end up too far into the red on the Delta.
Old Dad's, he's off again. Turn 7, and I think he's lost his wing again.
Yeah, he has.
Them hard tyres proving not to be a very sensible option, because although they probably would take you far into the race, they'd probably take a good few laps to warm up, so traction will be tricky.
I think Blood and Sands is serving his drive through at the moment. Yes, he is. Oh, what a shame. got himself into a fantastic position there on the medium tyres to start the race, and has unfortunately been caught out by the VSC regulations, and I presume has sped under the VSC.
But still, he's on his start tyres on the mediums, and he's in 5th place. And we know he's got some pace. And with the wet weather to come, he still could redeem himself quite favourably, as he has done last week as well.
Yeah, he's really started to show some good form in recent weeks. So getting the podium at Baku, a good recovery drive, I think, at Canada. He got caught out with a let down the state. Sega de Cos crashed, didn't he? He lost his wing in that collision in the early stages there. Recovered well to a very good finishing position. I think it was 5th on the road at Canada. So yeah, showing that he's really improved his pace over from when I last saw him race before I joined Wheel to Wheel, most certainly.
Sega to Cars, DRS open on CHM, down the back straight, now hitting the chicane.
Oh, we've got Maxi and James side by side through turn 11 as well. James on the fresher mediums getting back through.
Let down estate pitting now, 12 laps on his soft tyres. Still an outstanding show from a let down estate to be up in that position this part of the Grand Prix, and I think if he gets out the pits pretty soon, he's still going to be in quite a good position.
That's not a bad stint on those softs, considering he also did, I think he did 3 laps on those set in qualifying. So he has taken those softs quite a long way in sort of the combination rate of qualifying and race. And he's just going to go out in front of CHM.
He is. I think that's going to be critical. Because now, fresh tyres, he can run away rather than being stuck behind that train of 3 cars. Which Dino is having a look now on the inside of Sega. It's not what Sega would have wanted. But, oh no!
Oh.
He massively missed his braking point, completely smashed into the back of CHM, and he's not even weighted up for him.
No, Sega got a penalty for cutting the corner in that instant as well. I think just taking evasive action, cut the corner.
I think that's something that will be likely to be reviewed in the steward's office.
So where's Blood and Sands after his drive through? Just about 3/4 of a second behind James Lord, who's having a decent opening stint to the race here. P3 on his...
There you go. Just made his way past Dino after the chicane on the back straight. So Dino got the position after that little instant, but Sega taking it back. Maxi in the pits, 13 laps on the mediums.
Yeah, that's a little bit early, I'd say, for pitting on the mediums, but he's going for another set of mediums.
Unless they know something we don't. Again, weather could be coming in 15 and he's just thinking, let's stick some fresh tyres on. I've done that a few times before.
Yep.
But Blood and Sand in 4th place. He's looking at the back of James Laws, both on the same age tyres.
The DRS isn't really doing much for him down that straight.
No, the straight line speed of James Laws is something hard to beat.
James is using his overtake as well to help defend, which is contributing to Blood and Sand struggling to get anywhere near James at the end of the straights.
2 Ferrari drivers, I think you must have cursed them at the start.
I do apologise.
Running 11th and 12th. Looking much like the real life Ferrari cars right now.
I do apologise for Prev and old dads if you watch this back and listen to me. Don't blame me. Just calling it as it was at the time.
I was quite impressed with them though, because old dads was in the pits getting a new wing, and Prev came into the pits, and I thought, oh no, he's going to be held up, but Prev was serving his drive-through. So they went through seamlessly, which is why they're so close on track now. But I'm missing Blood and Sand getting his way past James Laws on his DRS straight for the start-finish line.
Just use DRS. Got the run out of the last corner and just use DRS to blast past down to turn 1. A very easy move in the end. Trying to work out where people really are in terms of strategy, because it's been so frantic with people having to pit for damage. People have had drive-throughs. Trying to work out where people actually are once they've all made their first or even second stops in some people's cases. It's the order you see right now is definitely not the outright order to expect in probably 10 laps time even.
No, but I think the only thing that we are to expect, which is quite standard, which is Woody and Cal racing away from the field. 23 seconds in front of Blood and Sand, but Blood and Sand yet to pit.
But will Woody regret pitting as early as he did, which then, in a way, caused him to get the time penalty he's currently driving around with?
Yeah, because Woody and Cal typically don't get many penalties.
No, Woody didn't get any at all last week at Canada. And it took, I think, Cal something like 50-odd laps to get his first. So yeah, these two don't regularly get penalties, and Woody might regret maybe pitting as early as he did and being fed right into the middle of what was pretty much a train from P3 right down to sort of P10, I think it was.
Sega to cars, DRS on a let-down estate on the start-finish line. Straight line speed lacking, so I don't think there's going to be any overtake due shortly.
In this case now, just be patient, get through turns 3, 4, 5, 6 and the kink of 7, and just try and get the run down to the chicane at the end of this DRS straight coming up.
Yeah, Sega must have more downforce to how close he can get to the back of that Red Bull through them tight corners. Overtake on, DRS open, just in the slipstream, but he's not gaining.
No, let down the stage using his overtake as well to defend, which is again meaning Sega de Cos just can't get close enough to even consider a move. He might have a run this time though into 10, sorry.
Yeah.
Let down the state, not giving up on it, but backs out of that, thinks better of it.
Let down estate on the slightly fresher tyres, but Maxi, having a look on the inside on turn 10, but I'm not sure what either of these cars was doing at that moment.
Oh, it didn't quite flick on in time, so I didn't quite see what was going on.
Well, I joined and I was just like, why are they taking the lines they are? But CHM going quite deep onto the exit of 12. Maxi trying to capitalise as much as he can. Turn 13, sorry.
Yeah, into the final corner of turn 15. And the other DRS zone on this straight. Maxi looking like he yep, just about out-drags him enough to get by before turn 1.
Yeah. CHM's got a bit more overtake though, and he will have the DRS assistance if he can stay within 1 second.
But Maxi on the slightly fresher tyres, doing a good job of the slow section there, and has actually pulled out of DRS zone before they get to the detection point, so Maxi won't be under threat here.
Did, and I think that was probably critical there. But that gap between Cal and Woody, I think every time I look it just seems to be getting a fraction smaller.
Yeah, it's coming out ever so slowly, but Woody's just doing enough just to keep him out of arm's reach and not let him get DRS.
But speaking of DRS, James is on James, but James is in AI. Why is James Law flaws in AI. Something that we actively discourage at Wheel to Wheel because it's difficult to know what your AI car is doing as James picks up a penalty.
That's his fourth. He's one away already from losing positions. We're not even halfway.
The AI of James Law, very slow through there. James making his way past.
Yep, makes it stick. James and Blood and Sands are the only ones yet to pit for tyres. But Blood and Sands has obviously had a drive-through penalty, meaning he's already been through the pit lane once already. So you're making those medium tyres last pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, drivers reckon that you could take them 20 to 25 laps, depending on your tyre management. Pirelli reckon 25 laps, but I must now jump to Cal, who's now in the DRS window of Woody.
As Blood and Sands pits and just defies you by going a few laps shorter than 20.
Cal's dropped quite a bit back now, but read a comment out on the stream. Dave J, 2013. How's doing, Bloom? Is that Vern with you in the commentary? It is.
It is indeed. Good evening, Dave J. Another
Dave J.
Yeah, another racer from Race Station from my previous website. Someone I've known for a good few years now.
Yeah, he's also an ex-wheel-to-wheel racer as well. He was in wheel-to-wheel for a good number of years.
Yeah, I think he raced on both websites at the same time at one point.
Yeah. You always get that sort of crossover between leagues. There's plenty of drivers I know from other leagues, in other leagues, currently active, and almost like a bit of a market out there for drivers.
As I said at the commentary in Canada, there's just something about league racing that just entices people to want to participate in one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether that be for commentary, racing, or just reserving. Something always wants you to be a part of it somehow.
Yeah, it's just having like-minded people in a lobby with you at the same time where they, I want to say, take it as seriously as you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is an element of seriousness to it. It's league racing. You are being competitive out there. But you've kind of just got to remember as well, it is a game. So if something does go wrong, you do have a collision. You know, if there's a disagreement out there, okay, you can sort of debate what happened, but don't let it get the better of you.
Yeah.
Because it's not like out in the real world for the F1 drivers. There is no danger to what we do. We just do it for the fun of it.
Yeah. And like you say, it's all about mental health. I think a lot of people, certainly in recent months and last year, just using these platforms as an escape. And all the instance, you know, save your video, post it into appeals, and you know, let the FIA deal with it. And at Wheel to Wheel, we're the same. We have appeals meetings with the FIA, and any videos up there, they get dealt with. And also, the thing about Wheel to Wheel, anybody is welcome into these meetings. So you're not so much allowed to comment on your own incidents or incidents that are involving teammates or constructors' points that may involve you. So typically we have AL1 drivers comment on AL2 incidents and AL2 drivers comment on AL1 incidents. So there's completely unbiased.
Yeah, which is probably the fairest way to manage that, because it can be a tricky thing to maintain, especially if you only end up with a certain few who are willing to partake in the FIA meetings, and you do end up in a situation where they end up having to make a decision on something that may have an overall effect on themselves. Then that always just puts doubt in other people's minds, doesn't it, about how fair that decision actually was.
Yes. But then, as we say, these meetings are always open, so any individuals wanting in can more than happily join to even just spectate.
Exactly. Just to listen how it goes.
Yeah. We went through a period of actually recording them and uploading them.
Oh, wow.
people was brandishing them as... I can't remember what the word was now, but there was politics thrown around, and it was just like, oh. But I just think there's elements of that in most leagues throughout seasons. But
I really need to start getting my stream out there as well. I've just got my first viewer of the evening, so whoever you are, thank you and welcome.
And Dave J, again, just saying, how's doing all? I was doing all right. I hope you're doing all right as well. Dave, I haven't spoke to you for quite a while now, to be fair.
No, so again, I haven't had any messages or haven't spoken with him since the sort of race station kind of got to a point where it was struggling to continue. I think Dave J, I think he stopped racing around Spain on our season, and then it kind of came to a halt, a race after that. Just due to just getting a struggle in terms of getting enough members to partake in the races. For one reason or another, I'm not going to get into it, so I don't want to cause a stir for anyone who may be listening that may know about Race Station and whether they're a former member or not.
But we have Blood and Sand on the back of a letdown estate. A few people now inside the DRS window. Cal still struggling to catch Woody, but at the moment, Blood and Sand, DRS is open. Slowly gaining on a letdown estate, who goes very defensive on the inside, heading down into turns 8, 9 and 10, and a little bit of collision there, but nothing too serious. Blood and Sand trying to capitalise on the traction, and he does, coming out of the chicane, and is up on the inside and past a letdown estate before turn 10.
Again, very good close racing between these two. Blood and Sands trying to recover the time that he would have lost from the drive-through penalty he had to serve as a result of the speeding under the VSC caused by, I believe it was Old Dad's, wasn't it, spinning that caused that VSC. And as a result, he's having to recover the time he lost, having to go through the long pit lane, and it's a slow pit lane as well. Despite how long it is, it's a very slow pit lane speed here. As James Laws finally comes into the pits for the first time.
And Cal very close now to the back of Woody. A few battles going on, but I'll flick to this one. And now
Cal got a lot more ERS available to him than Woody, but I think Woody has been very clever with the use of his ERS, and he's pretty much using a little bit every time down this DRS straight for the pit straight, and then again coming out of sort of turns 5 and 6 onto the other DRS straight, which is just keeping him, as I mentioned earlier, sort of just at arm's length and just far enough ahead so Cal can't look up the inside.
Yeah, flicking to... Oh, man.
That's penalty number 5 for James there already.
Old Dad's on the inside of CHM. Ooh. Door closed a little bit, but Old Dad's giving it another go on this soft compound tyre. It is 11 laps old, but he is up on the inside and past the Mercedes car.
I've just gone flicked a bit further up the road. Maxi on the back of Dino. Again, Maxi had a look through turn 11, but the door was quite firmly shut. He'll have to wait and see if he can get a run down to turn 1, or we'll just wait for the back straight DRS again. I think Cal's the closest he's ever been to Woody as well. Don't know where to look. It's all good.
Maxi is hot on the tail of this AlphaTauri. Oh, and Woody's pit.
14 laps on the medium.
17.
17, sorry. It flicked. It flicked to Cal as a leader then. So I read the wrong. So yeah. But still a little bit early, you'd say.
Yeah. But again, is he condensing his strategy down because he knows it's wet weather at the end? But Maxi struggling for the straight line speed, and he tries it under braking down into the chicane, but Dino still ahead at this moment.
And again, the run down to turn 10. Dino does have some damage on his front wing. The left side of his wing is missing, the end plate. So I think that is why we've been seeing Maxi on the back of Dino. I don't know how Dino has managed to damage his wing there, but he's definitely missing the left side end plate there. Yeah.
Maxi doing a great job sticking it round the outside there, especially with Dino having damage to his left end plate. Just meaning that he wouldn't have the turn in right, and Maxi was right on his outside.
Sega de Cos is closed in on James. I mean, this will just compound it a little bit more for James, won't it? He's up to 5 penalties, and he's at risk of losing a position on the track as well.
Yeah, well, Maxi just got that position off Dino and now picked up a penalty as well.
I mean, I've got Silver Slugger shown as having 17 seconds, but obviously that's one of those is a 5 secondaries obtained there.
Yeah, so that's likely to be 4 exceeding track limits, 3 seconds, and then a 5 second, as you say. Oh, and as Dino then picks up a penalty again, so he's now on 9 seconds.
At the moment, CHM and Cal, the only one. It's another Ferrari. Is that Old Dad's again? It is. That's another wing
not
gone.
Quite right with his setup there. It's really unfortunate because he's had epic pace here.
Yeah, he had very good qualifying pace. Maybe that setup is more of a qualifying trim setup that he's gone for, and it's meaning it's just not suitable for the race. Maybe he's, I don't know, overheating the tyres a little bit. Been a bit too aggressive on the tyres. It's quite hard to say in a spectate mode. But that's at least his 3rd spin we've witnessed today in the race.
James Law past Dino. Dino really suffering with that wing damage now, and also Sega to Cos looking to make a move on James. DRS assistance again to help with the overtake.
Oh, Cal sped in the pit lane.
No!
Just as I was saying, he hasn't got a penalty. He's gone and sped in the pit lane entrance.
Yeah, I think he was going into the pits at the same time as Old Dad, so that'll be interesting to see.
Sega de Cos does not really get close enough to make a move on James, but I mean, James has already got enough penalties to be dropping back anyway, so Sega knows that he doesn't have to be as risky in a way with making a move, knowing that he would gain that position at the end of the race anyway if things were to finish the way they are.
Yeah, well, we are just over halfway. So interesting to see how these strategies will play out, because it does seem like both Cal and Woody pitting early on their mediums.
Yeah, and at the moment as well, just to point out, we were told it was meant to rain at the end, but at the moment it's still blue sky. So there's no... Who's that? That Silver Slugger who's spun. It might well be quite literally raining at the very end at this rate, because there's no evidence of the rain coming in anytime soon still. 6 for James now.
Oh.
They are really starting to build up, and as you say, we're only halfway, just over half distance. This is going to hurt.
It is, because he's got pressure from Sega, who's looking to take the position, but he's he's already got the positions in penalties.
Yeah. And he's got Blood and Sand not too far behind and slowly closing in on these two as well.
Yeah, Blood and Sand on much fresher tyres.
Against Sega, I'm going to look around the outside to turn 10.
Very close wheel-to-wheel action there.
There's no real opportunity to go around the outside of turn 11 unless you're mad, I think is the best way to describe it. Because the racing line takes you out wide and cuts back in. So if you're on the outside line, you're more often than not going to be run out of road. Go around turn 11, so you might as well play it safe and try again at the DRS straight.
There you go. Closing with DRS now looking on the outside of turn 1. Oh, but James was still on the inside, and James is now spun.
I didn't have the best angle there from the external view I had. It did look like Sega had a sort of a car's length down the straight, and James was later on the brakes. But as I say, didn't have the best view, so I'm not going to partake in any opinions.
Yeah, difficult to say. I think the best call for that is the individuals' point of views to be uploaded for FIA to review. If anybody feels appeased by that incident. But James Laws now within DRS range of Maxi. James Laws, I think we previously mentioned, had got some rapid straight line speed.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was behind him before, but they were not making any inroad on him whatsoever down the straights. So yeah, if James gets anywhere near, as he gets a penalty, if he gets anywhere near the back end of the car in front, he's got a very good opportunity to making that move stick pretty even before they get to the corner.
Ooh. I'm not sure what happened there.
No.
Dirty air or lack of concentration.
It almost like he just got too close to the back of Maxi and just nearly got caught out.
It had just bailed.
And we've got Prev on the back of Dino there, just trying to work out. So there's a racing point in front of him that has just been lapped by Woody.
James Laws easily takes that position off Maxi, well in front before turn 1. But Maxi not letting it go easy. He's now looking down on the inside into turn 3, but brakes early.
Oh, and it's about...
No.
Oh, well held there from James, but that's a damaged wing there for Maxi.
He does still have the end plates. I mean, it might be a yellow wing, but it's...
I think it's the main plane, sort of the flaps is actually damaged. Because it was literally a frontal impact. Oh, we'll wait and see. It didn't look...
Yeah, I think you can actually see it, yeah.
You can kind of see on the sort of his right, our left as we face towards him, it looks like a flap might be missing, but it's quite hard to tell on the spectate mode if it's not a end plate damage.
I do think I could catch a little something there, but Maxi did let off completely there to make sure that James took the position again. Problem with these halos and that now, with the camera angle, you can never see the front wing, whereas previous games you was able to see the full front wing from your T-cam.
At the moment, you've got Blood and Sand still making small inroads on Sega, down to just under 2 seconds, and you've got Prev just outside of DRS on Dino. But again, at the moment, we've got a bit of a spread as we start the sort of second half of this race.
Yeah, and CHM, the only driver to not yet have a penalty. But let's go back to a few comments on the stream. Dave J asking, where's Dastardly? He's AL1, yeah? And he was AL1. He's took a season out, so he is away for the moment, but he does pop in to say hello now and then. And I've got a Mr. And he said, I've just written a song about tortillas. Or actually, it's more of a rap.
Come on.
And then he says, where's next week's race taking place? Next week is Austria. But Sega to Car's pitting there on the 21 lap old softs. And then Dave J saying, Devil says, hi Chubby, give Vern a cake.
Nice.
Devil is a frequent watcher and used to do the commentary with me back in the day.
Yeah, and used to race in the non-assist league with me in the race station as well.
Sega timing that pit well. He's got out in front of James Maxey. So I'm trying to predict now because Woody and Cal have gone quite early on a lot of their pit stops.
Yes.
The cloud is gathering slightly. Are we due to see some rain in about 10 to 15 minutes, as Jeff would call it?
The penalties continue to rack up for James there. Yeah, I mean, we can only really base it on looking at the sky. There is still blue sky from what I can see. There are some more clouds appearing, but on this game they do seem to build up all of a sudden, so it's not the easiest to work out and predict. Well, on lap 33 as James retires.
Oh, James is out. Oh, he's retired.
He's retired in the pit lane.
Oh, okay.
He took himself to the pit lane and has just decided to call it a day. Do you know what? I think we might not be seeing the rain until, at least sort of around between lap 45 and 50, you know. I think it could be a last sort of 10 lap struggle, or again sort of where it doesn't really get wet enough for the inters and they just slip around on the slicks to the end, because the clouds aren't building up quickly enough for me to think they'll be in the next 5 laps. So it's I think these guys are gonna potentially have they might even still finish on the slicks, but it just being right on the teetering edge of it, getting to the point of inters. But it's difficult. But I'm gonna estimate sort of around sort of that 47, 48 before we start seeing the rain taking effect. That'll be my estimate.
I'm just looking, trying to think, could Woody or Cal take them tyres to the end? And I think it's possible.
It should be possible. Based on how short their stints have been so far, you wouldn't probably expect it.
No, that's what I mean. It wouldn't make sense as to why they've cut their stints short to then go to the end on these tyres.
Yeah, we can only presume they've cut them short to make it a bit more optimum for when the rain does arrive.
Yeah.
As I let down the state pits for another set of mediums. But yeah, so either they're hoping the rain arrives at a certain point, and if it doesn't, it might mean that they'll have to run a little longer on this set. They should. I mean, what are we on? 19, 20 laps to go. That's, you know what, even on the mediums, that is a push to do sort of 28, 29 laps. In Woody's case, that would be. So no, I think they'll turn this into a 3-stop if it stays on the slicks all the way through. Anyway, just because of how early they've pitted up until this point.
Well, I've got to say, James Laws, currently the biggest gainer with 7 positions. However, I've got to take my hat off to Blood and Sand again, showing top form. Not quite in the same league as Cal and Woody, but 5 positions gained and is currently running third with about a pit stop distance between him and Sagan.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit longer than 20 seconds to make a pit stop to get out in front of someone because the pit lane is so long. I think you're looking about 23, 24 seconds to be able to pit, get in and get out. But yeah, he's not far off, and to be honest, I mean, I know Sega's on younger tyres, so that gap in theory should come down. But Blood and Sands is still in a very good position to have a fight for another podium opportunity here today.
Yes. And he would be fully deserving of it. And now that James has retired, we've got no penalty drops to consider at the moment. Not
at the moment, no. Dino's...
As Prev picked up a penalty.
Yeah, Dino's the closest on 12. I mean, Silver Slugger's got 23 seconds, but we'll need to work out how many of those are actually 3-second corner cuts, because he may well be affected, but he's bottom. He's at last place anyway.
He's bottom anyway, yeah.
So if he was to, was there a position change there that I just missed?
There was. Dino made his way past CHM, but Dino has got Cal immediately behind him. So
I wonder if CHM has lost out while being lapped.
Either clever or cheeky, whatever happened there.
At the moment, this is the closest battle on the track, Dino and CHM. But you expect Dino to pull away on 7-lap softs compared to 23-lap mediums of CHM.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's just I think we're waiting for the next round of stops, really, or for the rain to arrive.
Cal, he's got another penalty. This time a 3-second track exceeding limits penalty.
And that's the other thing we've got to remember, that Cal's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. If he was to pit, that'll get served in the pit stop.
Yeah.
So if it does rain and they have to pit for inters, Cal would lose out in that pit stop phase. Whereas at the moment, if they were just to go to the end, it would just get applied at the end of the race.
All that and Prev having a tussle. Very close.
Not leaving themselves much room for error there. Similar tyre life, both on the medium. So yeah, that's just a straight out fight there. Old Dad's obviously trying to just regain as many points as possible after at least 3 spins today, and I think at least 2 front wing changes as well.
Yeah, he has had an amazing race, but then at the same time an awfully unlucky or bad setup for the race.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really, well, I didn't catch on my streams a couple of his excursions in this race, so not really able to tell whether it was contact or just spin on his own. But the fact it's happened 3 times is just, yeah, it's just meant that he's been doing nothing but catch up the entire day.
But he has had a podium and he has had a fastest lap this season. His highest finish this season is 2nd place.
The fastest lap at the moment belonging to Cal, but again, only just ahead of Woody in that regards. those two have set times in the low 33s. No one else in the... Old Dad's a 33.7. Apart from that, and Dino in a 33.8. Everyone else 34s and 35s. So again, just showing their pace advantage that they've shown again today.
Yeah. I mean, there is space in AL1, and we have done it previously. Steve-O, he did drop down from AL1 to join AL2 because he said he was struggling, and then he sort of ran away with 8 race wins in a row. So it's like, nah, you got to go up to AL1.
Yeah.
Leave the fight for the AL2 guys. And these two are looking a league above the rest. And we have a league above the rest, so there might be a day where we call it to move them up.
Yeah, it would seem pretty inevitable that they would end up in AL1 at some point. With the fact those two are always in close quarters with each other, and then there's 50 seconds, 45 seconds to Blood and Sands back from Cal. As Cal then adds a bit more time to his fastest lap.
Yep, now in the 32s.
Old Dad's making the move on CHM down the pit straight. Using his younger medium tyres there to good use. That's not a bad time to set on a 10 lap, 11 lap old mediums there for Cal. Showing that those mediums are holding on.
Yeah, Rory's just remembered where his overtake button is.
Yep.
Typically, Cal doesn't really use his overtake. It's a bit strange. He just seems to run around and not use it, and he just uses it now and then on an overtake or that, but on a typical lap, we'd sort of spotted that he doesn't really use his overtake.
Yeah, it's obviously there is a tactical element. He's nearly 80% battery life. Yeah. There is obviously the tactical element to it, so you don't want to burn it up too unnecessarily, but then you do potentially need to use it to help you just catch up to the guy in front. So again, it's just finding that right balance of how much do you use to try and catch, and just ensuring you still have enough left over for when you want to make that overtaking move.
Yeah. Maxi in, and Cal improving his fastest lap now. Maxi in, set of soft tyres, 13 laps on them soft tyres. That's similar to what I was doing on Wednesday, so that's a strategy to go to the end. Another penalty. That puts him on 9 now. Maxi behind has only got 6 seconds. But I think Maxi won't be behind for long on these super fresh soft tyres.
It's going to have to be a bit of an outbraking manoeuvre, but with the fresh softs it should give him that potential. And yeah, he's through.
Yeah, kept it on the outside all the way around and did a good job.
Oh, excuse me. So 2.5 seconds to catch up to Old Dad's. See how we can do this. Sorry, I've got a bit of a sneezing fit going on at the moment.
No, it's fine. James Laws in the pits.
For front wing change. Is that? No front wing change.
It is looking more cloudy now, but I'm beginning to think we won't see a wet track.
No, it's going to need to start raining in, I say, by sort of lap 45 for it to really potentially have an effect on the last few laps and make the last few laps really questionable. It kind of has the hallmarks of a sort of a Spa 2008 about do you pit for inters and do you stay out on slicks.
Yeah.
To make it to the end.
We're going to see some action here. James Laws making his way past Dino, but he came out the pits just in front of Old Dads. Old Dads is now making his way past Dino also, but Old Dads on 13-lap old mediums. He was coming under threat from Maxi behind, but Maxi's sort of dropped off a little bit.
It's Blood and Sand now pits, I think, in reaction to James Law.
And that has give Sega the position, and what we was talking about earlier, the gap now between Blood and Sega. Blood's coming out the pits. He's over 10 seconds behind Sega now.
Yeah, and that was what, about 18 seconds, wasn't it? I think when he pitted.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're looking 25, 28 seconds for a pit stop by the looks of it. It's because the pit lane is so narrow, it brings the pit lane speed limit down, and because it just goes on forever, it just means that the time lost is just that much more, which is why normally I think in real life we tend to see this race tend to be a bit more of a one-stopper, just because they don't want to lose that 25 seconds in the pit lane unnecessarily.
Yeah. Maxi with a very clean overtake on Dino, down and start, finish straight. Old Dad's DRS assistance on James Laws, but he's dropped quite a bit back coming round that corner.
London Sanson's not even completed his outlap yet, and he's taken nearly 1.5 seconds out of Sega. Just showing what those soft tyres can do.
Yeah, well, the 1.1 second deficit between the two. And
but that's fresh to fresh.
Fresh.
Yeah.
As
and
Woody's in pits now.
And if it was to start raining now, those fresh softs would just be the ticket. While it started to get a little bit slippery.
Yeah, because it can take several laps for the track to actually get wet, doesn't it?
I think that's what we're seeing Woody going on as well now. So Woody obviously going to come out in second place, but he has got quite a bit of traffic.
He does. But ghosting is on, but the only downside to ghosting being on is the fact that sometimes the cars don't move out your way.
Yeah, it's just more of a distraction.
Yeah.
But he's behind this Dino, Maxi, Old Dads, and his teammate not too far, and James Laws not too far up the road either. Navigates Dino quite easily. Hopefully we'll get Maxi before the chicane, so he doesn't get too distracted with that. Or not.
Maxi's not really pulling over, but Maxi, in his defence, to be fair, Dino is immediately behind Woody, so...
Yeah. Still set a purple middle sector according to my screen there, did Woody, so... It's not affecting him too much at the moment. Blood and Sands.
Fair play.
32-1, that's a cracking lap, and he's taken another 2 seconds out of Sega in setting that lap.
Cal not yet responded. Woody 16 seconds behind. Thing is, as you said earlier, Cal, if he pits, he will have to serve that 5 seconds. But
yeah,
that even further behind Woody.
Does that change his approach? Does he hope to make it to the rain and try and recover some ground that way? Does he try and play that tactic? Does he try and stretch it to the end? It's gonna be so tight how this is gonna work out.
Yeah, one person's got it right and one person's got it wrong, and there's no way to tell until the Grand Prix is finished.
Exactly. Woody hasn't exactly got the ERS available to him in setting this lap. So if Cal does react and pit, with the amount of ERS he has, you would expect him to be able to challenge for that fastest lap back.
But Woody now in the 14s, seconds behind Cal, so he is closing that gap. So the longer Cal leaves it, the more damage it's going to do.
He goes round again, does Cal as well. I can see on the track maps. I think he is. He's just hoping for the rain. I think he's going to try and throw a curveball and elongate this medium set. As Woody gets DRS off his teammate down the pit straight to help him with the fastest lap.
Does he get it? And he does.
Wow.
On 30.9.
So we've gone from a 32.1 that Blood and Sand sets to 30.9.
Blood and Sand now only 3 seconds behind Sega. Well, much fresher tyres and a softer compound. So that'll be one to watch. In fact, let's just have a quick check on penalties. They both have 6 seconds, so on track position is for the position.
I'll tell you what, Blood and Sand's car does look absolutely planted. There's no corrections there whatsoever. It just looks comfortable.
Yeah, when you was doing your onboard with him, I did an onboard with him a few weeks ago, and he seemed to not use all the track available to him when I was watching him in quali, but this time he seemed to just nail it and get it bang on.
Yeah, I think that podium he got in Baku, and he had a really good race at Canada. The confidence is high. His confidence is just increasing as the races go by, and it's just allowing him to just almost relax and just let his racing do the talking.
Yeah, when you've got that confidence and you've got the pace to go with the confidence, it does take a lot of pressure off you, because he's now in the DRS window of Sega, and it doesn't look like it's took much work.
No, not at all. I mean, obviously the tyre advantage will help that, but there's no... I've been on board with him for about a lap and a half now. I don't think there's been any risk of a corner cut or a track limits of running wide. There's no corrections. The rear just looks... As he cuts the corner there. Thanks, mate. But, yeah, the car just looks easy to drive.
But I think I have to mention now would be the right time to say, as Sega is going into the pits. 13 laps on them mediums, maybe he's looking at having a pop at fastest lap, but Sega was spun, or did spin, near the start.
Yeah,
so
he did.
He was plumb last, and to have been sat in a podium position there, you've got to take your hat off to him.
Yeah, he spun coming out of, or going through turn 2 on the opening lap. Again, we didn't see what happened, so we don't know if he had a helping hand in that, or whether that was just a spin on his own. But it's been a great recovery. To get himself up to P4, and I think he'll hold on. He holds on to that P4. Coming out the pits, and he's now got a 7 lap sprint on those soft tyres to the end. Still no sign of this rain. It's definitely getting darker though.
Yeah. Looking like it could drop at any moment, and it is. It is dropping.
Again, just as I say, it decides to make a show, and I think Cal is wanting to get this to the end, or until it gets wet enough. If it gets wet enough, that's it. That's his game plan here. And I think Woody's realised that, because he's turned the wick up again all of a sudden, using up his ERS again.
Yeah, well, 9 seconds behind, and Cal's got 8 seconds of penalties. Woody's got 3, so all Woody has to do is get within 5 seconds, and that's the net lead.
Yep.
But how is this going to affect things? Because if
Yeah.
Cal pits, he's going to have to serve that 5 seconds.
How much is this rain going to have an effect in these remaining 5-6 laps? On previous games, just based on historic knowledge, it always seemed to get wetter a lot quicker when it rained at the very end of races. Now, I'm not sure that's the case on this game, but that's just something that we just got to keep an eye out on, and how slippery does it get.
But I think I would much rather be... Oh, and Slugger is already opting for the intermediate tyres, but I do think I would rather be on 5-lap old softs rather than 20-lap old mediums in this weather.
Yeah, right now I prefer to be in Sega's position. 1 lap old softs.
Yes.
They would be the best, obviously the best tyre to be on now, but even more so with the slippery conditions, they will be providing even more grip than, say, the 20-lap old mediums that Cal was on. If it gets any wetter, Cal will begin to start struggling very, very quickly.
Slugger struggling on the intermediates, which is no surprise because I don't think it's anywhere near wet enough just yet.
We haven't seen DRS get disabled yet, again, which tends to be the indication that it's wet enough for inters. Gap still coming down. Woody 7.6. She's got to find another just over 2.5 seconds to win this outright. Outright with penalties applied.
Yes. But 1 minute 10 in front of Blood and Sand, so these two really need to, I think about AL1 because it's a ridiculous gap, really.
It is huge, yeah. And they are, I say, they're quick and they're not really getting the penalties as well. So it shows they're quick and they're within the limit.
Yeah. Another 20 seconds and they'll be lapping 3rd place.
Yeah.
There'll be somebody on the podium a lap down.
Yeah, which used to be, used to be a thing back in the olden days, sort of the early 2000s, late 90s. You used to have that on really weird sort of races where, weather or just a really odd situation occurred. Who's had a moment there? Yeah, Slugger's on those inters. Again, I think those inters are just overheating. So it's just not wet enough yet.
Maxi really close to the back of Old Dad's.
I think we saw Old Dad's just get another penalty just a moment ago as well, didn't we?
Yeah, Old Dad's now on 12. Dino dropping a position. 15 seconds.
Is that Slugger again? I think it is. Yep, coming onto the back straight. Those inters are... as he takes out the board that defines what turn that corner is.
There's a lot of people got close all of a sudden. James Laws, Maxi, very close to the back of Old Dad's coming into turn 1. I wasn't sure if he was going to try to take the position there. And Old Dad's now on 15 seconds of penalties. Prev overtakes Dino. And Maxi overtakes Old Dad's.
That's 10-lap old softs against 22-lap old mediums in slippery conditions. I think Old Dad's really struggling to keep that car facing the right way.
I mean, Old Dad's was struggling in dry conditions on the slicks.
Yeah.
He's now got wet conditions on the slicks.
There's a lot of yellow flags out there all of a sudden.
Prev is round and is missing his right end plate. I'm not sure what happened, whether he was there by himself, because I think Dino was around.
It definitely looks like it's raining heavier all of a sudden. The drops are a lot more noticeable on my screen here.
And Cal's in the pits. Cal's in the pits, and it looks like Woody has stayed out.
Oh, now is this the gamble for Inters? Must be.
It must be.
It is. And there's this 5-second penalty being served. So he was about 7 seconds ahead. I reckon he will be about 25, maybe more than that behind.
James Laws is looking on the inside of turn 1 and let down a stake, but they both left each other room. James Laws cut in the corner of turn 2 to try and get the run on and let down a stake down into turn 3, but not able to get there. But this will be the call now, as DRS is disabled, but Woody 24 seconds in front. And what is going on there?
A letdown wanting to get the turn in for turn 6, and James was just there. And it just looked like the tyres just interlocked. Now, Cal, has he timed this right?
It would be a very tough decision. 3 laps left of this Grand Prix, and Woody, can you lose 24 seconds on the wrong
Well, DRS
tyre
has been
compound?
disabled already. We'll wait and see. I mean, I think the sector that Cal's come up to now, through turns 10, 11, 12, will be where Woody, will start to really lose out if the Inter is the tyre to be on.
He's coming in. He's coming in. Brake. Oh, I thought he was going to speed in the pit there, but 24 seconds in front of Cal, and
23.
he's coming to the pits.
I'll tell you what.
This is going to be close.
Yeah.
And now that Cal's served his penalty, it's 3 seconds each, so it's going to be
a straight fight. Woody's coming out, but Cal's coming down the pit straight now. This is going to be so close. I think Woody might just...
Time to change of view.
Oh, that's like what... This is the... Cal having a look down the inside, but Woody just holds on.
Old Dad's with a 10-second penalty.
Yeah.
But a lot of drivers now in for the Inters.
I think Old Dad's has just straight line the last couple of corners with the wet weather. Just looking on the track map. But we've got a fight to the finish. 2-lap sprint on Inters.
I'll tell you what, on intermediate tyres they look like they're struggling. It almost looks like it's full wet nearly. A lot of spray coming up from the tyres. Cal's gaining on Woody.
Oh, he's letting him know he's there, looking, trying to make him probably more make an error more than anything else. Lifting through turn 10, make sure they don't lose the rear.
Blood and Sand is staying out.
That's brave. But so's Sega, so he's got that. Old Dad's again on the mediums.
But he has stayed out.
It's brave of some of these guys to stay out, but obviously with just so few laps to go.
Cal's still not really using his overtake. He's got 92%.
And his fuel light is on already at the start of the final lap.
So is Woody's.
So they're right on the limit with fuel.
Ooh, and Cal.
Yeah, they've got to be careful not to pick up more penalties. Of course, no DRS obviously to help him this time round. But Cal's got a full battery. Woody's got half a battery. Woody using his already. Cal not.
Why would he not? There we go.
Yeah, but
I think he's listening.
Yeah, but still, you kind of want to use it for the acceleration, not the end of the straight. So you're not getting the benefit of the battery. So yeah, he's kind of costing himself the opportunity to be able to make a move.
the last sector now of the last lap. These two are battling it out for the race win, both with 3 seconds of penalties. Both done very similar race strategies.
Oh, traffic in the way as well. I think that's Sega, isn't it? That's 4th place Sega they're coming up to lap.
That means Blood and Sand will be safe in 3rd, but Woody ahead of Cal at the minute. Only 8/10 in it. We're coming up to the final corner. Sprint down to the finish line. Woody for Racing Point, looking like he's going to take the race lead as Cal loses his rear end a little bit there. Cal wins the French Grand Prix.
Woody
wins the French Grand Prix. And Cal losing out by 7/10. Penalties all around, bar CHM, but Blood and Sand, personally my driver of the day. Phenomenal race to be back up on the podium. Sega having been lapped, this means that he is safe on the podium, but he's finished the race on the slick tyres, or will do when he finally gets round. And what a Grand Prix that was.
Yeah, it came alive at the end again. The weather really throwing a curveball out there. Cal called a pit stop absolutely right. That even with the 5-second penalty served in his pit stop, he was still right with Woody. When Woody had exited the pit lane, having pitted for the Inters as well. So it just showed how quickly, again, the grip just went away for them. Blood and Sand will be the last one to cross the finish line, but he's guaranteed P3 as long as he just tiptoeing around the yeah.
Which even if you don't get there, he'll still get P3 because it's
assuming he doesn't end up getting 2 penalties in the last 2 corners. That's about it. That's the only way, really.
Oh yes, good point.
He's just got to tip it round, and he will get P3.
Fantastic drive from Blood and Sand there. Rounding off the podium in style, in the slick tyres, in the wet weather.
The most unusual circumstance of a driver nearly being 2 minutes behind the winner, yet not lapped.
Yeah.
Just shows how much slower those slicks were at the end there.
But the game has chose James Laws as driver of the day because it's probably most positions gained. But there is our podium. Woody Wolfe on the top step. Very close battle there with Cal for McLaren, and Blood and Sand taking up the final podium step for Haas. And he really is showing some tremendous form there. Blood and Sand saying nearly blew it. He thought that his last lap was the last lap.
No, I think he started celebrating too early down the straight before he got to the line. Nearly dropped it.
But Woody Wolfe taking fastest lap and the race win. And did he take pole? He did, didn't he?
Yep.
Yes.
Woody.
So
yep.
The hat trick there for Woody, pole, fastest lap and the race win. Cal in second place, very close behind. Blood and Sand finishing off the podium in third place. Sega Descartes taking fourth. Letdown Estate in fifth. James Laws in sixth. Maxi in seventh. And Dino will be demoted to seventh, promoting Prev to 8th. CHM with no penalties, the only driver to not pick one up, in 10th place. Old Dads is going to finish in 12th.
No, he's got less than Silver, so...
Silver does have more, and we have James retiring in the pits. So we now have Cal joining us for a post-race interview. Cal, how was that race for you?
Bit of a roller coaster, really, wasn't it? So, yeah, where do we start? So, first stint, obviously, I was keeping in touch with Woody. I was just kind of managing the gap, and then I sort of closed up to the back of him. I was trying to force him into making a couple of mistakes, or maybe even track limits, just getting an extra penalty, or so on, or whatever it be. That's what my plan was, just being there, trying to force them mistakes, and then I've gone into the pits and I've got like 5 seconds, and it's in that moment I sort of I had to sort of, I didn't reset because I was fuming, but I knew I had to reset at some point. So I just had to get through the first few laps done on the next tyre, and then start to feel a bit better, start to put some good laps in. But I was still annoyed about the penalty because I knew that sort of killed the race between me and Woody at that point, or it felt like that. I was so far back, and then obviously we knew the rain was coming. I could see strategy and stuff playing out. So yeah, it was interesting at the end, that's for sure.
Was you expecting the rain sooner than it came? Because you and Woody both seemed to shorten your stints on your strategy, almost as if you was leaving that space at the end for the rain.
I mean, I was hoping for the rain a bit earlier, but at the same time, my strategy, knowing the rain was towards the end, I saw Woody pit early first stint, so I thought, well, if I pit 2 laps after him, then I've got 2 laps fresher tyres for the next stint, and then it's same again, pitted 2 laps after him for the second one, kind of just to make sure I had that couple of laps on him on tyres, so if the rain did come at a point where his tyres were on the cliff, mine still had a couple of laps left, I knew that could bring me back into it. But then, yeah, so the final pit stop, I could just tell I was ready for the inters. I just knew this lap was going to be kind of, from the decision in Monaco, it came down really quick, and I kind of had that in my mind where I pitted a lap too late, and I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. If this goes wrong, I can come around and pit again. If this pays off, it can make it quite interesting. So pitted, got the quicker laps in, and then obviously the 5-second penalty, which was frustrating because I'm sure I slowed down for the pit lane, but that's held me back, and then it's made it very close.
Was if the rain hadn't come as heavy as it did, was you hoping to take them tyres to the end? Because you seemed a bit committed towards the end.
Yeah, so I had nothing to lose. Obviously, I knew Woody was on the 3 stop. Could tell by the way he was pitting earlier. So I was kind of, once he went in for that final stop, I was never going to catch him, pass him, make the gap. It was a case of, let's just see what I can do and hold the gap. I was maintaining the gap pretty well, but then when the rain came down, obviously he had slightly better softs than I would have had mediums, and when you're struggling with the conditions, you do need the tyres with you, so the gap started to come down a bit quicker anyway. But yeah, I knew that if the rain came, it could work in my favour because I had nothing to lose and I could time the pits, potentially time them right. But so I was hoping for the rain, but if the rain didn't come or didn't come as heavy, then yeah, I was committed to getting to the end on the medium.
Cool, but fantastic. Great drive from you. Shame to miss out on the top step by 7/10.
Yeah, so last lap, I knew I had no fuel. I was literally balancing it throughout the lap. I was trying to, so when he came out ahead of me, I had like plus 0.04 or something like that. So I kept dipping under, coming back on top, and then trying to balance it. And I literally crossed the line with 0 fuel. So I gave everything I could on the last 2 laps. But yeah, congratulations to Woody because he's one hell of a driver. He's consistent, he's quick, and he really does push the car. So like he doesn't leave anything behind, like just goes for it. So well done to him. He deserves to win.
Same for you both. You're both fantastic drivers, really showing the pace. I think on the final lap, I think you was both about 1 minute 10 in front of any other driver. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So I think it's frustrating that the penalties happen because and the pit stop incidents happen because I wanted to be closer on track in the middle bit so we could really race because that's what we want. Me and Woody want to be side by side. Like I get on with Woody. I talk to Woody, practice with him now and again. We have great side by side, so it'd be nice to have more of that in the league. So obviously that's where it's shown, and that's where we really want to be battling. But hopefully in coming races we will have more side by side. Yeah. And as you mentioned, Woody, he won the French Grand Prix, so we'll go to him now.
Hello.
How was that for you? You seemed to pit quite early on your first stint, which brought you out in quite a bit of traffic. Was that part of the plan?
The plan was to do the free stop, which I did. I looked at the little race information. It told me I was going to come out in 7th, and I thought, oh, that's alright. And then I come out in 10th, I think, or 9th. So I was like, oh, right, okay. So yeah, I had to get past a few cars in the first stint, and I ended up gaining a time penalty as well, the only time penalty, because I kept having to go wider off track to try and make some of the overtakes. after that, yeah, I stuck with the free stop. And yeah, Cal was on a 2, so I knew it was going to be, well, it was going to tighten up towards the end, and it was a shame for Cal to get the 5 seconds because he probably would have easily won the race without it. And yeah, with the wets at the end, it was well, I kind of wanted to go to the end, but the DRS was disabled. Had to come in, and I knew that Cal was going to be on me, and I'm quite surprised I came out ahead of him coming out the pit lane, to be completely honest. I thought I'd given it up then.
You went on an extra lap.
Yeah, Cal pitted on the perfect lap, to be honest, and got that 5 seconds out the way with. And yeah, it was close towards the end.
But no, that was a fantastic watch, and yeah, truly the battle between you and Cal was heating up there.
Yeah, like Cal said in his interview, I agree. I think we are going to have some entertaining on-track battles between me and him, and hopefully we'll get them sooner rather than later. But yeah, me and Cal get along, and we race well.
No, it's great to have drivers that get on with each other and that can practice together. But you two certainly excel the AL2 field. How would you feel if you was asked to promote early to AL1?
I mean, if it has to be done, I'd probably go along with it. But I would probably prefer to stay in AL2 to keep this going. If it becomes a problem, like with me and Cal maybe winning on most of the occasions, then I can imagine it'll be okay to move up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like today. You both finished a minute in front of any other driver, and normally Xerxes would be here, but he would fill in that gap a little bit between. He would normally follow behind both of you, but Xerxes would normally reserve in AL1, which he's got that luxury of doing, and he does finish quite well. In fact, he beats me quite a few times in AL1, and he's not far off pace between you two. So I think it's something that we have seen before at wheel to wheel, and I think just with the pace advantage that you two have, you'd probably come into AL1 and still have your competitiveness between you, but there'd be other people in the mix with you. And in fact, you'd probably be in front of a few, myself included. I don't think I'd be able to catch either of you.
I think it comes down to two things, doesn't it? First of all, probably me and Woody both want to go for this World Championship now. We're sort of into it. And secondly, we love to hear your commentary and we'll watch about the races. So.
Well, we need to find someone from AL2 that'll do commentary for AL1. Really, that's what we need to do, because then we'll have commentary no matter which league you're in.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. If it comes to it, then you can give us the info.
Cool. No, but that was a fantastic race, and yeah, really exciting. Brought some action, certainly towards the end, to see first and second cross the line with between 7 tenths between them. It's always going to be a great Grand Prix.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
No, well done. And next week we will be going round the Red Bull Ring of Austria. So join us then. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe.